Thank you for subscribing to our channel. Today is Wednesday, May 19, 2021. BBC report: Adama Traoré, how George Floyd's death energized French protests. Black Lives Matter banners aligned with France's own domestic movement organized under the slogan, Justice for Adama. Adama Traoré was a young black man who died in French police custody in 2016. Traoré, Amin Bentensi, Remy Fraisse, Théo Luhaka, Cédric Chauviat. These are just some of the names of working-class victims of alleged police brutality in France, many of them black or Arab. The movement dates back decades, with its earliest advocates from France's working-class suburbs, but there have also been more recent student protests in secondary schools.
Deutsche Welle report: Israel shrugs off Biden call for significant de-escalation. During a phone call between Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and U.S. President Joe Biden on Wednesday, Biden told the Israeli leader that he expected significant de-escalation today on the path to a ceasefire, according to the White House's account of the call. It was the fourth call between the two leaders since hostilities erupted 10 days ago between Israel and Hamas militants based in the Gaza Strip.
Al Jazeera report: what is behind Israel's targeting of prominent buildings in Gaza? Rami Aldramli watched in disbelief as the building he had worked in for more than 20 years came crashing down. Following a missile warning, Israeli fighter jets late on Tuesday afternoon bombed Al Aqaf building, the latest structure to be targeted by Israel during its relentless 10-day offensive on the besieged Gaza Strip. The 5-story building in western Gaza City housed a number of offices, including of Masharek, one of Gaza's oldest and most prominent media production firms.
Fox report: woman whose father is jailed in Iran pleads for help. As President Biden pursues a new nuclear settlement with Iran, for some people it's personal. Families of Western dual nationals being held in Iran, either in prison or under house arrest, describe waiting anxiously for news of their relatives' fates. "We have highs and lows," said Elika Ashori, whose British-Iranian father Anousheh is serving a 10-year prison sentence. She told Fox News, "We have episodes where we are extremely hopeful. Where he's extremely hopeful that something's moving to the right direction." Quote.
Fox report: anti-Israel protest erupts at Israeli embassy in D.C. On Tuesday, hundreds of pro-Palestinian demonstrators took to the streets around the Israeli embassy in Washington, D.C., to protest Israel's response to a barrage of rocket attacks from the Palestinian terrorist organization Hamas. Protesters at the rally, who came to Washington from all corners of the country, gathered to condemn what they view as unjustified and excessive military action from Israel.
Deutsche Welle report: Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies plunge after China issues restrictions. The price of Bitcoin plummeted further on Wednesday after China banned banks and payment firms from providing services related to cryptocurrency transactions. Beijing made trading in cryptocurrency illegal in 2019 amid fear about money laundering. But people were still able to make transactions online. At one point after the announcement, the price of the world's most valuable cryptocurrency fell from $45,600 to $38,570, its lowest since early February, and well off the record high of $64,870 seen last month.
BBC report: Cyclone Tauctay, 26 dead after barge sinks due to cyclone. The death toll is expected to rise as rescue operations continue. At least 53 people are still missing. A Navy warship returned to the city's harbor on Wednesday with some of the 186 survivors rescued so far. 35 people have also been rescued from another of the 3 other barges stranded due to Cyclone Tauctay. The cyclone weakened after it made landfall on Monday, but at least 19 people are confirmed as having died on land in the storm.
Deutsche Welle report: progress made on Target 11 global biodiversity goals. Ahead of the UN's next biodiversity conference in China in October, conservationists reported major progress, although incomplete, in rescuing the world's shrinking biodiversity over the past decade by establishing conservation areas on land and at sea. The Protected Planet study by the UN Environment Programme, UNEP, and International Union for Conservation, IUCN, based in Switzerland compares Target 11 goals set at the 2010 Nagoya, Aichi Summit hosted by Japan with global trends in 2020.
Al Jazeera report. Amazon plans for new Alabama warehouse after U.S. union defeat. Amazon announced plans for a new warehouse that will bring more than 500 jobs to North Alabama in the United States just weeks after workers at another company facility in the state soundly defeated a push for unionization. The company said the 93,000 square meter, 1 million square foot, order fulfillment center would be built near a new Mazda Toyota vehicle factory that's being constructed west of Huntsville in Limestone County.
Fox report. Georgia police officer saves unresponsive toddler with an obstructed airway. A Georgia family is showing their appreciation for a police officer who saved their 15-month-old child who became unresponsive because of an obstructed airway. Each one of the officers came in a very timely manner, and were all very professional, caring, and helpful, the family of 15-month-old Adrian Tovar said Tuesday. The Tovar family cannot thank everyone enough for all the help. Police were called to the Tovar home around 7:30 p.m.
CNN report. World's largest iceberg breaks off from Antarctica. The world's largest iceberg has calved from Antarctica over the past few days, a giant floating piece of ice close to 80 times the size of Manhattan. The iceberg broke off the western side of the Ron ice shelf in Antarctica's Weddell Sea, the European Space Agency, ESA, said Wednesday. The iceberg is shaped like a giant ironing board, measuring around 170 kilometers, 105 miles, in length and 25 kilometers, 15.
BBC report. Abortion. Texas governor signs restrictive new law. Governor Greg Abbott signed the legislation at a ceremony on Wednesday. It bans abortions after the detection of what anti-abortion campaigners call a fetal heartbeat, something medical authorities say is misleading. The law is also unique in giving any individual the right to sue doctors who perform the procedure past this point. Doctors and women's rights groups have heavily criticized the law, which will take effect in September if it is not stopped by a court.
CNN report. Buying a home. Skip the love letter to the seller. The housing market is so competitive, buyers are doing anything they can to get a home. A common way to try to stand out is to write a heartfelt love letter to a seller. A seemingly harmless note to express appreciation of the home and make a personal connection. But in this overheated real estate market, what were once simple handwritten or typed letters have lately given way to more polished packages, with photographs of the buyers and even videos, agents say.
CNN report. Blinken and Lavrov to hold first high-level meeting of Biden's presidency as U.S.-Russia tensions simmer. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken is set to meet Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov Wednesday, the first high-level encounter between the U.S. and Russia since President Joe Biden took office that comes amid heightened tensions between the former Cold War foes. Blinken and Lavrov will meet on the sidelines of an Arctic Council meeting in Iceland without a stringent time limit or any topics off limits. Sources familiar with the plans for the meeting explained.
Fox report. Endless riots turn Portland into city of mayhem. Mayhem awaits you in Portland, Oregon, according to a greeting scrawled in white spray paint on a highway sign heading downtown. More graffiti, abandoned cars and trash covered encampments pepper almost every off-ramp along the way. It makes me feel sad for the people who were born and raised here, that their city has become this. This is not what Portland is all about, said Daryl Turner, a 30-year veteran of the Portland Police Department and executive director of the Portland Police Association.
CNN report. Lawmakers unveil legislation to give Havana syndrome victims better medical care. A bipartisan group of lawmakers on Wednesday unveiled legislation to boost medical care for those afflicted with Havana syndrome, charging that the Trump administration failed to do enough to care for CIA officers and State Department diplomats struck by the inexplicable illness. Maine GOP Sen. Susan Collins and the leaders of the Senate Intelligence Committee introduced a bill on Thursday that would authorize the CIA and the State Department to provide injured employees with more financial support for brain injuries. House Intelligence Chairman Adam Schiff, a California Democrat, is introducing a companion measure in the lower chamber.
Al Jazeera report. Asia disputes IEA's call to curb new oil, gas, coal investments. Asian energy officials on Wednesday disputed a call from the International Energy Agency, IEA, for no new oil, natural gas and coal investments for the world to be able to reach net zero carbon emissions by 2050, viewing that approach as too narrow. The IEA, which has previously championed the oil and gas industry, this week outlined a path to net zero emissions that suggested stopping new investments in oil, gas and coal supply, retiring coal-fired plants in advanced economies by 2030, and banning sales of new internal combustion engine cars by 2035.
Thank you for watching 5 p.m. Recap. To be notified, you can subscribe our channel and activate the bell.